All right, let's look at the check your understanding. So, number one, we've got a counselor at a large high school who wants to learn about student opinion regarding remote learning versus in-person learning. So she's interested in what students appreciate more, their preferred method of learning. Each of the following sampling methods introduces a possible source of bias. Name and explain the type of bias. Okay, so the counselor selects a random sample of students from those who signed up for remote learning only. So she is only surveying the remote learning. So we're going to name the bias. Whoops, let me back up. There we go. We're going to name what the type of bias is, and then we're going to explain what's going on with it, okay? So on this one, this type of bias is undercoverage, right? Like she's a whole part of the population she's interested in is being left out. And so what is wrong is that students, right, who are doing in-person learning are not included. So we just explain what's wrong with it. It's undercoverage, and why is it undercoverage? Okay, the counselor selects a random group, a random sample. So she selects a random sample of 100 students and sends them all an email, but only 28 students respond. So only 28 out of the 100 respond. All right, so this is non-response, and it's because 72 of the selected students did not respond. Their answers might be different from the 28 who did respond. I do want to point out here, these were selected students, right? They were selected for the survey and they did not respond. This is not voluntary response, right? Because they were selected. Voluntary response and non-response get mixed up a lot. Okay, so she selected 100 students, sent them an email, 72 chose not to respond. That is called non-response. Okay. The counselor surveys the first 50 students that submit their learning preference for the upcoming school year. So this is what we call convenience sampling. That's back from the Beyonce lesson. Okay, that's a convenience sample. This introduces bias because there's no random sample in the process. They didn't do any randomization. So when that happens, the sample may not represent the population, and that's what leads to bias. Okay, let's look at number 2. Students at a certain high school completed a survey that included the following question. Social media can negatively affect teens, distracting them, disrupting their sleep, and exposing them to bullying, rumor spreading, unrealistic views of other people's lives, and peer pressure. How many hours per week do you use social media? All right, so what type of bias is present? And will the survey underestimate or overestimate the true average number of hours per week that students use social media, and explain? All right, so this right here is going to be response bias because of how the question was worded. Because they put all of this stuff in here at the first, right? And said all the negative things that happen, and then asked the question. A better way would have just been to say, hey, how many hours per week do you use social media? You might get more truthful answers. But putting all of this mess in there, right, which is true, that's not a bad thing. That's probably why they're doing the study, but they're maybe not going to get correct answers. So this is what we call response bias, and it's due to wording of the question. The survey will likely underestimate. Students are more likely to say, oh, I don't spend that much time on social media because I don't want you to think all these things about me. So the survey will likely underestimate the true average number of hours on social media because students won't be truthful. And that's how we answer that. Talk about the source of bias, what it's caused by, and whether it will under or overestimate. All right, that's it for the lesson. Next class, we will have a quiz over 4.1 through 4.4. You have practice problems for all of those sections. So make sure that you work through those. The keys will be posted for all of those. And we'll see you next week. Thanks.